Okay, everybody, George Christie here, and I want to welcome you to the program, or whatever you want to call it. I want to address one of the most frequently asked questions I get through my private emails, social media, and whatnot. What happened to Terry the Tramp? That's what everybody wants to know. Terry the Tramp was a famous Hells Angel from Oakland. He was a shining star that kind of burned out kind of fast. And I'm going to tell you what I know about him as explained to me by Paul Animal Hibbets. And, I want to give you a little introduction about my relationship with Animal. Animal and I went to Pleasant Valley School together in Camarillo, California. From Pleasant Valley School, we went to Adolfo Camarillo High School. And during our high school years, I was pretty much outlaw type surfer, and Animal was getting into motorcycles, and he was hanging out with Dick Woods and the Question Marks out in Somas at the Brooker Ranch. Danny Brooker was a very close friend of mine, still is. His father owned Movie Land Cars of the Stars, and they had access to all the major TV people, motion picture people, and they rented cars to him. And Dick Wood's job was to maintain all those cars. And in the process of doing all this stuff, he started a little motorcycle club called the Question Marks. And out of the Question Marks came Paul Animal Hibbets, David Ortega, and myself. And, I truly believe that the Question Marks would have became the first Hells Angel charter in Ventura County probably a decade before I brought them there. But he had some issues. He got stabbed in the back chasing down a Saint and Slave motorcycle. They were at the Center's Palace on the Ventura Avenue. Ironically, just a block or so from the future of the Ventura Clubhouse. So, anyways, Dick got stabbed. The Question Marks stumbled as far as a club. But prior to that, when the Question Marks were going strong, Animal got into some trouble with law enforcement. And he beelined out of town, went down to San Diego, joined the San Diego Hells Angels, and immediately transferred up to Oakland and became a prominent member in the Oakland Hells Angels. So I had a real insight into what was transpiring. Also, you have to understand, Paul helped me establish, along with David Ortega and Jesse, a couple other people, the Ventura Hells Angels. So Animal and I went back years and years and years. A lot of you know Animal from the Altamont concert. He was the guy running around with the fox head hat on, and he ultimately wound up knocking out Marty Ballin, ruined our relationship with the Jefferson Airplane, and basically he kind of stole the show at Altamont. And the other individual that kind of stole the show was Terry the Tramp. At anywhere he'd go, he'd draw attention to himself. And, the first time I saw him, I think it was up on the Kern River. And those of you that never saw him in person missed out on something. But a lot of you have seen him in the movie Hells Angels '69. And he kind of stole the show. And I think that was partially the beginning of his problems. And, what you have to understand is the club was going through a transition back then. There were new rules being, introduced to people, and one of them was no using needles. A lot of the guys were shooting drugs. This was the '60s, and people were shooting drugs, and even heroin. Heroin was ultimately outlawed, I guess. Nobody could use heroin in any form, and it got turned into a big campaign. The Los Angeles Hells Angels had a giant billboard along with the San Jose Hells Angels, and it was no hope with dope. It was a big campaign. There were a lot of allegations that Hells Angels were supplying narcotics to everybody up and down the coast and later across the country. And this was done in an effort to stop that publicity. It was very negative publicity, but there were a lot of people in the club that felt that route wasn't right, and they didn't like it. It caused a lot of controversy. The drug rule ultimately got Terry the Tramp kicked out of the club or pushed out of the club. I've heard different philosophies on it. Now, I gave you a little introduction into my relationship with Animal, and this is where I got all my information on what transpired with Tramp, Sonny, and ultimately what happened to him. So you got to remember the 70s was horrific for the Hells Angels. You had a lot of murders. Ray Glore, Snake, Gary Robles, Harry the Horse, Stork, Tiny, and it pretty much ended in the early 80s. Jesse was a Ventura member. He's basically the last one killed during that purge, if that's what you want to call it. But I had gone to talk to Animal late one night, 1977, 78, and a lot of these things were bothering me. I was a new member, had just got involved in the political scene in the club. We were in a raging war with the Mongols. There had been 5 deaths within 5 months, and then Ray Glore, the president of Los Angeles Hells Angels, turned up dead. And I went to talk to Animal for some guidance to understand what was happening. And we got in a very, very deep discussion about all the people I just mentioned. And in the course of the conversation, he said to me, "Well, George, you didn't mention Terry the Tramp to me." And, I replied to him. I said, "Well, Animal, Terry the Tramp was a drug overdose. I don't think that's part of this political controversy and turmoil that's going on right now. And it has nothing to do with the new direction of the club." And, he said, "You need to grow up a little bit." He goes, "That has everything to do with the direction of the club." And he goes, "Actually, perhaps Terry was the start of this whole purge you're contesting or talking about." And he went on to explain to me what happened. And this is what he expressed to me. He told me about going over to Terry's place with some other Hells Angels. He never mentioned the other Hells Angels that accompanied him, and I never asked him. And I respected that. I figured this was something Animal was trusting me in, and he was basically only incriminating himself. Was a bit of a confession. And, he basically told me, George, that wasn't an overdose. That was a hot shot. And anybody that doesn't know what a hot shot is a dose of narcotics used to basically kill somebody, to murder them. And that's what he described happened to Terry. Now, in the past, I've told this story, and I've always omitted under whose direction this was, but everybody's kind of figured it out by now. And Sonny's gone now, and yeah, it was Sonny, and he had so much venomous attitude towards Terry. He had Animal and the other Hells Angels that were there call him so he could hear Terry struggling for his last breath. He did not want Terry the Tramp on this planet any longer. And part of it was jealousy. I think most of it was jealousy, but there was also some money involved. I had heard that Terry was a co-producer on Hells Angels 69. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know there was a lot of money for LSD floating around, and there were arguments about things, and you have to understand, some of this stuff was confirmed by the vice president, or former vice president, George Weatherin, in his book. I think it was Wayward Angel was the name of it. And, it's got a lot of information in it. It's not written very well, but he basically says the same things, except he said he heard a tape recording of Terry struggling for his last breaths. Animal told me they called Sonny directly so Sonny could listen to it for whatever macabre reason, I don't know. But, that's the story. If you want to get deeper into it and read about it, it's in my book, Outlaw Riding Through the Storm. It's a little section about the night that Animal, I don't know if you want to say confessed or confided, whatever. I think Animal and I went back a long ways. He knew I wasn't going to finger him for anything. There was a lot of things going on in Los Angeles, a lot of allegations about myself and Jesse of, who was doing what was happening. I certainly don't take responsibility for anything, and I never will. But there are a lot of influences going on. So, that's the story of Terry the Tramp. I know he's very popular. He's even more popular in death than he ever was alive. So, if Sonny had, ambitions of destroying him, his reputation, and whatnot, it really backfired on him because I think he's more popular now than ever before. He's a real sultan of style. People try to pattern themselves after him. People write me all the time. Does this look like Terry's bike? Is this anything like it? If you want to see what Terry's bike looked like, get Hell's Angel 69. I'm sure you can get it on Prime Video or one of these services and take a look at it. And, he even outshined the professional actors in that movie. So, was it right? Was it fair what happened to him? No, I don't really think so by any means. But it is what it is. And that's the story of Terry the Tramp. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got anything to say, you guys can write me. As I've said in the past, if you're going to tell me to go to hell, don't waste your time. I've already been there. Talk to you all later. Take care.